Welcome to the Clinical Podcast Series brought to you by the American Academy of Optometry Foundation and the OVS Announces channel. Today's episode is Contact Lens Replacement. I'd like to thank our host and topical editor, Mika and our topical expert, Chris Wilmer. Now, on to the show.
Welcome, everybody. In this episode, we're going to be discussing a paper that looks at contact lens replacement. I'm Dr. Mika, and our guest expert for this episode is Dr. Chris Wilmer, who's the Associate Dean for Clinical Affairs at Berkeley Optometry and is a board member of our own American Academy of Optometry. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks, Mika. Great to be here.
Good. I'm glad you're glad to be here. Okay, so this paper is actually titled Compliance versus Risk Awareness with Contact Lens Storage Case Hygiene and Replacement by Cardona and his colleagues, published in the Academy's journal, Optometry and Vision Science. So, all right, listen, I think all of us are aware that contact lens patients do not do what we say when it comes to taking care of their contact lenses. So what is this study trying to teach us?
No, I will say I absolutely agree with you. And this is a study that came from Spain. It was conducted in Spain. It was conducted with a self-reported survey. So we know how that goes too. There can be some bias. There can be some answering of questions based on what, patients think that we want to hear, first of all. So there could be some of that. They collected, demographics, contact lens modality. They did not include one-day wearers, looked at how do they clean the lenses, what are their habitual practices, and also whether or not practitioners educated the patients and how did they do that? Was it verbal? Was it in writing? How did they maintain the case? And of course, did they replace it? Or do they even know that that should be, considered? They also wanted to know, did patients know what the risks were with not having good case hygiene and replacement?
Okay, so that sounds like a pretty well-written survey. What did they find?
Well, okay, I'm sure you're not surprised. They basically found that patients really don't have good practices as far as their contact lens cases are concerned. So the respondents were in general in that kind of younger age group, around 24 years of age. Vast majority were women, 77%. And more than half of them had either an undergraduate or a higher level of education. Most of them also were very seasoned contact lens wearers. More than 92% were 5 years or greater lens wearers. And most of them used multi-purpose solution and monthly replacement lenses.
And so what surprised me, because it was no surprise that they weren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? But what surprised me was that they knew that their behavior was risky and they did it anyway.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, they did. What's interesting is they knew there was a risk of infection. So when you look at the data, a large percentage, 85% knew, okay, I might get an infection. They did not connect that though at all with what an infection could result in. And, people are really afraid of blindness. So only 10% of the group really understood that there was even a risk of vision loss. 5% said, okay, I know I could go blind basically. And that's really interesting to me that they don't connect that. So I don't know, humans sometimes, we don't want to, we don't want to admit the consequences of our actions. We think we're not going to be the one that's going to have that consequence. That's kind of what I took away from it.
And I think there's this other thing I've been thinking about lately, which is that, every time you do something wrong and you get away with it, it gives you this confirmation bias that, oh, see, I didn't wash my hands and I put my contact lenses in and nothing bad happened, so that everyone must be overreacting. And I think that's also human nature to kind of let that perpetuate your terrible behaviors.
No, and also that so many of these respondents are really experienced contact lens wearers. So I think there's that relationship with, I've never had a problem, so I will not have a problem, right? They trust in the past and basically what's happened so far.
Okay, so let's figure this out. If practitioners know that patients aren't compliant, and studies have shown this time and time again, what can we as practitioners do to decrease the risk? Because we all know the risk of microbial keratitis is it's something like 3 in 10,000 for daily soft, and it goes up to closer to 20 in 10,000 for extended wear. So are there any suggestions the study makes about how we should deliver the information or lower or increase better behavior?
It's a great question. I would have assumed that we should tell patients and we should give them something to take home. And I don't think that that's a bad idea. But what really surprised me is that 60% of the respondents said, we didn't even read what the doc gave us with regards to how to handle our contact lens case. So that didn't really solve the problem. I think that there's that benefit to have patients respond back to us, ask them to show us that they had comprehension. So tell me how you're going to take care of your case. Can you summarize what I just told you? I think that actually can be really helpful. It takes a little more time.
Yeah,
But it may impress upon the patient that it's really important.
for sure. Okay. So what's your best contact lens case story from a patient? Like the worst compliance or whatever that you've seen?
Oh, a lot, right? But I remember this one patient who I gave a new case to and had then told me the story that she had an entire drawer full of contact lens cases. And so she essentially, over her long history of wearing, never threw one away. She just put it away in a drawer. And I tried to create the analogy that it was kind of like saving your old toothbrushes, that instead of throwing it away when you get a new one, you put it into a drawer because you might need it. And she, that light bulb went off, but she had an entire drawer of them. How about you? What's your favorite?
Okay, so I had this guy come in and he had such a filthy case that I swear we could have planted seeds in it and grown plants. Like it was not even white anymore. It was sort of this brownish color. And I picked it up and I said to him, okay, this is not okay. And I explained why. And then in front of him, I threw it away in the garbage can and I gave him a brand new case. I said, let's start fresh today. And then after he left, I went into the garbage can to go get it because I wanted to show my students. And it was gone. So he had gone and fished it out of the garbage can is the only explanation for that. Like he loved that case so much that he went and fished it out of the garbage can. So
there is an odd attachment. I don't understand why, but there's an odd attachment to the cases.
I know, it's so weird. Well, anyway, thank you very much, Dr. Wilmer, for joining us today. I don't think we got closer to the perfect answer. I think this is something we're still going to struggle with, but hopefully we can all talk together and figure something out that was going to make our patients want to replace their cases more often.
Thanks, Mika. I appreciate you having me today.